You're welcome in this place, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Football Ramble. Wales got a massive win and Scotland have qualified. It's Monday, 16th of October. I'm Marcus Speller.
I'm Pete Donaldson.
I'm Jim Campbell.
And I'm Vish and Jim.
Welcome one and all to your magnificent Monday on the Football Ramble. Oh, lads, it's International Weekend.
It's International Weekend.
Week. We still get a bit of it.
International Weekend sounds like the worst night at the worst nightclub.
It does.
Yeah.
Are you ready for International Weekend?
Here's Pitbull. That's the whole thing covered.
Yeah.
It's like a social occasion akin to the continental breakfast.
Yes.
Yes.
Hang on,
Yes, yes, yes.
But you said it was the
Overrated.
worst. All I've heard is good stuff.
Continental breakfasts are lovely.
Yeah,
No, they're not.
No, they're
Yeah,
not.
they are.
I'm afraid I agree
Croissants
with
and
this.
ham.
No,
with a half a grapefruit. Why?
That's what we got against grapefruit.
And a yoghurt.
Grapefruit is
Yeah.
quite boring.
Continental breakfast sounds a
delicious.
lot better than what it should be. you think of like some gorgeous Mediterranean spread, and you're right, it's very
I
disappointing.
like
Premium
what-
economy, isn't it, really?
Yeah. yeah.
Oi, just keep it British when it comes to
Yeah.
breakfast.
British oil.
Yeah, oil.
Oil. Just have a little glass of oil.
Oh no, you get the protesters in.
They stopped a Tekken tournament over the weekend.
Did
They just stop oil.
A Tekken tournament.
Yeah, and all of the usual kind of quite liberal, left-wing leaning video game
players.
fans and Tekken fans suddenly went, well, not on my patch. I didn't mind it when they were disrupting football matches and snooker. But now they're on my patch, stopping two kids playing Tekken.
There we go.
For a bit.
Do you think because they were getting a bit of a kick in wherever they went, we thought we might be able to defend ourselves?
Well,
here?
I think with a Tekken tournament, I mean, you're damaging like 300 quid's worth of a PS5, really, and that's about it. So.
This was like an official tournament. It wasn't just some kids hanging out.
No, it's an official
That'd
tournament.
be
They've not
well out of
downgraded
order.
that small.
Oh, we've got to blow the carton again.
Oh, dear. Well, that was your highlight of the
That was
weekend.
my highlight of the
presumably.
weekend,
Jim, what was your highlight of the weekend?
My highlight of the weekend was Paul Smith scoring a magnificent volley for Northern Ireland against poor old San Marino. But he had one ruled out that was even better, and he was miles offside, but it was a brilliant volley, and it gave me an idea, which is that we all know that offsides are necessary, but we also all know that they're basically really boring.
Yeah.
And they stop goals where no one's really had much of an advantage
Yeah.
all the time. So I think if you're in an offside position, you're not offside if you stick to headers and volleys. That's my solution for this problem. That goal would have stood. It
Andy
was a
Carroll's
belter.
goal would have stood.
Andy Carroll would be one of the greatest players in the history of the game.
When for Reading that, oh my goodness. Was it two he scored that day that were both
Yes.
ruled out?
I know you have to play to the whistle, but I mean,
No, but you're right though. I think there is something about that, Jim, because it is like it's a necessary having the offside rule, and it is. But it should be a way around it. That if the ball comes, you're clear in offside position. If you can just pull out a scorpion kick or something,
Yeah, if you can do something
everyone
that
goes-
is a bit exceptional.
yes, then you should be allowed. And if not, you've got the dubious goals panel on site.
Yeah.
And was that good enough to be scored?
So we need a
as goal?
dubious goals panel for every game.
Every single game.
happening, sat there like judges on X Factor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just think it would reduce the arguments in football. Anyway, Peter, what was your actual highlight of the weekend?
conceding 4 in 15 minutes at 11 side, clearly.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Did you?
is that an improvement if it's the highlight?
No, it was awful. It was awful for everyone concerned, really. So, yeah.
Did you get blamed for any of them?
Well, the first one I was chipped, and I'm 5'8", so I think I should be okay on that one, to be honest. But
Hang
it
on,
wasn't
I
a great weekend.
Immediately that made me think you were microchipped like a dog.
I should be.
No one else would have made me think that.
No, true.
So,
Who does this goalkeeper belong to? He's got
so you've picked yourself conceding a lot of goals as your highlight.
I was.
the You do crave
I
disappointment.
was encouraging. The goals were seen, so I helped in that way.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's
There you go.
a fascinating take.
Yeah.
Okay. Vish.
My highlight of the week was following the Manchester United takeover news, or non-news, as it were.
You were dancing.
Gary Neville tweeted his non-negotiables about the takeover. It's about
I did see
500 words long on Twitter, and one of the first responses was, "All right, J.R. Tolkien." And I find it really amusing because he makes some very valid points. He's very passionate about it. Also, too long didn't read. Like, you know.
Yeah. Marcus, do you want to know my actual my highlight of Saturday?
No.
All right then.
No, go on then.
It was receiving this T-shirt.
Uh-oh.
Oh, wow.
Oh
Holy
my
Christ.
God.
What do you reckon, Spelsy? What do you reckon? The host with the I'm wearing a T-shirt with Marcus's face on it, and I've worn it into work.
Yeah,
I feel like that
It says Speller in glittering gold letters.
It's
across
like one of
the
those
top.
old kind of rap T-shirts, but it's
Got
Marcus.
loads of.
Yes, it is.
pictures on
Yeah.
I feel like Alan Partridge in that episode. That's stunning stuff,
Yeah.
Peter.
I
nothing
got
has prepared me for this moment.
No.
Yet I feel quite oddly comfortable with
I
it.
got too hot, so I thought I can't wait till the second half. I just can't.
I did wonder because
Yeah.
you're usually you come in and you take your coat off.
Yeah,
You're heavily shacketed today.
I was heavily
Good effort.
shacketed. Too hot.
Look at people who are listening to this, but I appreciate we are taking a long time to talk about the football.
Correct.
I feel that you should give us a pass. It's International Week, but the man
Yeah.
has got my. I can talk you through some of those pictures. The main one that you've chosen, believe it or not, that was taken in the Boca Juniors changing room. At the Bombonera.
Lovely stuff, see? There we go.
What about this one where you're looking like Ric Flair?
Yeah, on the far
that
right.
was in
a fur
a
coat.
YMCA in St. Petersburg in Russia.
The
Genuinely.
less said
Really are
about
the
that night, the
hope of the
better.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Is
the
it
one
fun
on
to
the
stay in
left, I think the one on the left was
Top left or bottom left?
Yeah, true. I think this is a terrible audio feature,
No.
really, isn't it?
But just know that
Yeah.
we're presenting the show where I'm wearing Marcus's face on my shirt.
Okay. Well,
So I'll
Just,
cheer you
right-
up because England didn't play very well.
And also, just for for the listeners, Pete is sat right across Marcus.
Yeah.
Marcus.
with a full-on erection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was another face.
Yeah. It's just that's the nose.
The nose.
Well, I thank you.
Yeah, that's all right. It's quite all right, Marcus. It's absolutely fine.
Presumably, you've got T-shirts of us all made up. So tune in on Wednesday or whatever you're on.
He did make 3D printouts of our heads, if you remember.
Yeah,
I do
your
remember
head's in
that.
particular. So your next fish. Watch out.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's get to the football.
Let's get to the football.
everybody.
Yeah.
Wales 2, Croatia 1. A huge win for those Wales people. Fulham's Harry Wilson got a couple, and their Euro 2024 qualification hopes are very much alive, Jim Campbell.
It's on.
Thanks to Fulham's finest.
Absolutely. Do you know this was he scored those goals exactly 10 years to the day that he made his debut.
At 16.
16 years old.
Lovely.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
a lovely, lovely anniversary.
It's his 50th cap as well, wasn't
Incredible.
it? Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
That is very satisfying for people who are into that sort of thing.
Square, yeah.
Yeah, the first one as well. Lovely Route 1 stuff.
Yeah, brilliant.
But a beautiful finish. Very deftly done.
We suspected, didn't we, that they might be capable of, a slightly surprising result on paper, and there they were.
Well, you fancied them for this, Jim.
I did.
We've got to give you all the credit. That credit will be taken away when we talk
If you
about
listen to
some
the
other
recording,
result.
it was actually me who gave them every chance to get through.
Oh, is
Thank
that
you very
right?
much, Marcus.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get
think we both-
T-shirts of your
We
face
both
printed up then.
we both share it. They were good for their lead, though, weren't they?
They were.
They really took the game to Croatia, and I think that's exactly what they needed.
Well, I think they probably looked round and went, look at some of these old buggers.
Let's do some running.
Vida's in there. He's only 34, Vida. I feel like he's been 34 for about 10 years.
Vida la vida, Jim.
He's the youngest one.
He looks a little bit like, I think we made this point during the Euros, he looks a little bit like the bad guy in Ghostbusters 2, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be.
He's the bad guy in a lot of sort of 80s movies. It's the
Yeah, well,
ponytail,
yes.
isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
He's not making it to the end either.
No, no, shame.
I think, though, that this Croatia side will say, they're a bit old. They'll probably get to the semi-finals of the Euros. They'll
Yeah.
probably
they'll
qualify.
be
somehow.
Which makes Wales' achievement all the more remarkable, really.
It is. I mean, it is a brilliant win. It's a great night. It was a great night for Welsh football, but it's one of those nights, where they needed to produce, having a bit of an underwhelming campaign so far. And you look at them now, and it's on. It really is on. I mean, Rob Page said himself, "It's in our hands, and we'll be going for it."
Yeah.
Did you expect him to say anything else, Jim?
This'll
do.
Really thought about it too much.
To me, it's not going to get any
Probably
better
lose
than this.
against Turkey.
It's a tough group. We lost Gareth Bale. Don't get your hopes up.
Yeah, exactly. But there they are in second place.
That's Scotland's on.
There they are. But with 10 points, they're on the same amount of points as Croatia, and ahead of Armenia, of course. A little bit behind Andy Brazel's Turkey, as we like to call them.
Yeah.
But
But Armenia away is now a revenge mission as well, isn't it? After
It is.
they lost
Yeah.
the game in Wales because of 4 absolute rockets.
Yeah. Well, would you call the last 2 games cup finals, Jim?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? We're
Euros
all in.
finals.
We're all in.
that
In
you
the
can't lose.
qualification stage.
They're cup finals that you can't lose on penalties.
Let's get. I'll
And
be
for
looking
England,
forward.
that's important.
And that you can draw.
I'll be looking forward to November for the international break, which I don't always do. So Good.
You've got a little.
So for me, it's very welcome.
You've got a little cheeky soft spot for Wales, don't you?
I do. Well, my mum's
Your
Welsh,
mum's
isn't
Welsh,
she?
isn't
So,
it?
yeah.
Why? So
It's not that cheeky, really, is it?
Not cheeky.
well, he's cheeky.
Half a
Pete,
cheek.
though.
The boy who loves his mum.
I'm just a boy who loves his mum.
Okay.
No t-shirt of her.
Yeah, I was going to say. Well, it's good to hear that you love her. You've changed your
Yeah.
tune. Rob Page.
It's a hell of an accusation to throw out there.
you
Marcus, I love all the mums.
he does. You see. There we
Yeah.
are, equally. And that's a shame because he should
That's
love
a
his
shame.
own mum more.
Exactly true.
Rob Page said, I'm sick and tired of having to talk about my future. That was pretty
Damn right. Won a bloody football match. for crying out
Yeah,
loud.
well, I mean, so this is funny, isn't it? I mean, they are 2 games away from qualifying for what would be their 4th major tournament in the last 5.
This is about as
Which
great
is
escapey as it could be, though,
quite
isn't it?
something.
I mean, yeah. With this squad.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think the Page stuff has brought them together a bit? I suppose this is without wanting to conflate international and club football, especially with a team like Wales, where so much is based around identity and the idea that people deem you, not good enough to sustain yourself on like kind of competition stage. Like the fact that Rob Page's press conference afterwards, he was nearly in tears because he was basically furious about all the speculation, and the players have come out in the earlier in the week and after this result talking about how much they back him and stuff like that. There's every chance it would have bound them together. And also, you talk about these cup finals, he can probably just turn around and be like, look, who knows how long I've got left. Let's just fucking give it as much as we can. Because that game against Croatia, it really felt, without wanting to like dismiss them in terms of ability, but it really just felt like their sheer will, their sheer desire to get the result ended up, producing better football. We talk about it being route run, but Brooks's ball over the top to Wilson was brilliant, on the volley as well.
Yeah.
It was a great header.
Oh, yeah.
And, he did the universal sign of someone who doesn't score a header by pointing to his head.
That's
after
right.
he scores
That's
a
right.
header.
Yeah, enjoyed that. I did enjoy that.
But they stuck to it. Even when Croatia pulled a goal back, there was an element of like, oh shit, okay, something might happen here. But I don't know. There's a lot. The Turkey game is the one that you're going to worry about.
Of course.
But I don't know. They feel like they're burning a lot of or rather they're running on a decent amount of fuel here.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, one of the reasons why Rob Page is saying this, because only in June the Welsh FA reportedly wanted to appoint Roy Keane, which is an interesting one, isn't it?
Very interesting.
I mean, presumably they thought our team needs a bit of a rocket up there, bots, and Roy Keane just leapt to mind, I suppose.
Is he the
Of
only
all the
person?
words to consider and then settle on.
Yeah. Also, is Roy Keane like the
I'm
only
just-
person who
I'm-
shouts at people now?
Yeah.
Is this how it is? Is he the designated shouter?
I think so, yeah. I don't know. But Rob Page is still very much there. And as Pete says, we're looking forward to November to see if Wales can do it.
Yeah, I think what we spoke about earlier with Harry Wilson having been playing in the team for 10 years shows you that for Wales, consistency is really important. And Rob Page himself is a big part of that as well.
Yeah, indeed. Scotland are there. They've bloody well qualified.
Glorious.
Back to back. It doesn't sound that glorious when you say that.
I said it in a Scottish way.
Right. I'm sure they appreciate that greatly. But yeah, 2 Euros on the bounce they've qualified for after Spain beat Norway 1-0 to finish off the Scottish job. Steve Clarke becomes the first manager to lead Scotland to 2 successive European Championships. Not even Craigie Brown managed that.
No.
That's how big an achievement it is.
Huge.
Yeah, indeed. It was a shame for Scotland that they didn't do it in Spain, of course, the other night. But come on, losing in Spain is no disgrace, and they're there, and they're in France, of course. The Tartan Army, they're playing France on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
I was about to call them the European champions. They're not the European
No,
champions.
They
they're the
feel
World
like they
champions,
should
though. Yeah.
Yes,
I
not even the
feel-
world champions.
No, of course they're not. No, God, out of date there, mind-wise.
They should smash them, really, is what
Yeah,
we're saying.
exactly.
Yeah.
I am pleased they've managed to secure qualification before this game, because have you seen that they've been like hand-picked by France for this game, which
Yes.
feels a little bit like hearing the school bully is looking for you,
Yeah.
like insisting that you meet them over the park after school.
They
Like,
must have had like 5 or 6 different options. They went, it's quite close, isn't it?
Killian wants a word with you if you want to just come in to here where the CCTVs aren't working.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Steve Clarke had previously said that if you want to learn as a team, you have to play against good opposition. And of course, Scotland are going to be in Group A in the Nations League, the only British side who will be in Group E. So again, we're all going to get behind them.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I feel
because
like
they are our representatives. In the same way in the Rugby World Cup, of course, England representing, well, not just the whole of the Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
Still left. So again, I'm sure the whole Northern
It's nice
Hemisphere,
how we all come together in those moments, isn't it?
Very much so, yeah.
So I'm not a fan of the Nations League because I just think it's a little bit annoying. You are, but the Nations League is one of the big reasons why Scotland are where they are at the moment, because of what you said about playing. No, I'm being entirely sincere here. Stop laughing at me.
When like it's like I don't know. I don't know why I'm always accused of being like the only person liking the UEFA Nations League. I mean, there must be other people out
You like
there.
funny little weird. You like weird things, don't you? You like Turkish delight, probably.
No, I don't like Turkish delight.
Well,
thank
probably
you.
the only weird thing you don't like.
He is a funny little weirdo.
Yeah, you
can
are.
Agree on
I
that.
like you guys.
Your little gremlin.
Yeah,
Right,
you are.
okay.
I like little
Odd
gremlin
little
things.
gremlin, yeah.
Yeah.
Odd little troglodyte, culturally.
Can't
So you're one of those bellends who likes weird things, is what I'm saying, in a nice way.
Can't see any of your faces on a t-shirt around here.
But I suppose the point was that like the Nations League has helped them basically work out how to play against the teams around them, or deemed around them,
Yes.
and got them a level of cohesion that you only would previously see maybe at club level.
Yeah.
And those players have grown. I think if you look at it's the start of this cycle, as it were. Someone like John McGinn, his Premier League performances have gone through the roof. Someone like Callum McGregor, who just assumed great responsibility in a Celtic midfield, where there's every chance, we've seen it in the past, where midfielders, certainly Scottish midfielders, homegrown midfielders, aren't necessarily given pride of place in those midfields because we can get anyone from outside, and it just does feel like there's just a bit more puffing your shoulders out. Even someone like Lyndon Dykes,
Like Ryan Porteous has been important.
yeah, but like has a bigger status and regards himself, sees himself in high regard for country rather than club.
Yeah.
And that's all down to Steve Clarke, really.
Well, it is down to Steve Clarke.
And I think it's actually quite baller that they didn't win in Spain, but they won when they're not playing. How many times has that happened before?
Yeah, right.
Actually, 3 times to Scotland.
There you go. It's what they do.
weird,
It's
yeah.
what they do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's
Apart from
whatever.
that long period where they didn't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's right. I mean, I think that with this qualification campaign, like when we go back to, was it Euro 2016 when Northern Ireland and Wales qualify and England as well, they'd have felt so left out that it's sort of a silly sort of schoolboyish kind of way.
One
of
is always left out though. In the home nations, don't they?
Yeah, you never get the full complement.
I even fear for, I don't know who yet, for 2028.
It'll be
but I
England.
do fear that, I do fear one of them won't make it.
What, 6 host stadiums in England, and none of them are. You should have just taken the qualification, lads. You shouldn't have, But yeah, no, I think that's it. I think oddly, Euro 2016, when Wales went to the semi-final, that hugely inspired England.
Yeah.
They based a lot of the camp on what Wales did and having that sort of almost lads' holiday feel and so on.
Yeah.
And you could see what the team spirit, and people would bang on about team spirit, but it was so important. I mean, let's take England. People seem to forget that when they hired someone like Fabio Capello. Capello, a manager with enormous pedigree from yesteryear.
Yeah.
But in terms of building team spirit and so on, again, if you're a manager from yesteryear, it seemed like players were more kind of robotic and the emotional side perhaps wasn't as important. It's always been important, clearly.
An
But-
occasional boot camp feels like it's just not going to work.
Indeed,
Yeah,
And exactly, which is why when you think they were pondering Roy Keane, you think, on earth? But anyway, perhaps Keane's a changed man because he's been hanging out with Michael Richards a bit more. But England, as I say, so Wales's campaign in that particular Euros, it sort of inspires England. Now, obviously, England have got more resources, bigger population, blah 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 blah, more players, and so on. But you see what England are doing. Well, in spirit, you can copy that. You can't produce a Jude Bellingham out of thin air, of course. My goodness, England have tried, and we've only finally just done it. But you can copy certain things. And Steve Clarke coming in has probably thought, right, for crying out loud, let's make ourselves all the cliches, tough to beat, blah, 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 blah. Let's get the stadium rocking, and et cetera, et cetera. And as you say, Vish, you get people like a Lyndon Dykes or a Porteous or McGregor and those
Well,
players.
even someone like, I suppose I've forgotten in the first time around, but someone like Hickey as well.
Exactly, yeah. You get these players.
McTominay himself as well, the elevation in status, even though he's a Man United player.
Yeah.
He's the main man there in a way that he's not been elsewhere.
But it is that kind of feel-good factor.
Totally.
Now, I know, obviously, Spain was a huge marquee result, but that win in Norway, last-minute winners and so on, in the manner of that result, you could say, well, it's quite fortunate that they did it, but the fact is they did. Then ride it, use that kind of thing, because that win against Norway, against Spain, Scotland have had one or two kind of great results, in sort of fairly recent memory. But it's those games against the likes of Norway, similar sort of sides. When you go there and win, my goodness, you think, we're better than them, and we've just beaten the best side in the group.
Also, they're putting away the smaller teams with panache, which they didn't used to do.
Against Cyprus, when they
needed the result.
They used to labour to results like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, against Cyprus
them in half an hour, didn't they?
They were 3-0 up, and again, Scotland in the past would have gone, now we've got a big lead to lose, rather than we've got a really big lead here. Now we can just take it easy.
Marcus, your suggestion that Clark would be copying England. Imagine if he said that in a presser. I just wanted to copy England. Get him out,
you said that in Scotland.
I actually said that Wales.
They'd have torn the bucket out of your hand, wouldn't they?
I said that Wales are the ones that started this recent sort of thing you could say in these Isles. Although Northern Ireland themselves, again, in terms of team spirit and all, they've been doing that as well. I just want
steady.
What's that?
Let's get dead steady.
Okay.
But I think
getting carried away with myself.
You are getting carried away with yourself.
I just want Britain to be great again.
International politics.
And together.
I want the United Kingdom to be truly united.
Why can't we just get along?
Let's get along.
I think
support us.
As we've supported you. I think it is important to say that Euro 2020 was quite an interesting point for Scotland, because it was like, this is really cool.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't.
That's right.
Yeah.
They only ended up getting a point, didn't they?
Yeah.
And you entered into a situation where clearly the takeaway from that was why we should not be happy with anything about this. Yes, we qualified, but look, we were out.
Well, that idea of just turning, I'm just for the party, is kind of bollocks, really. Obviously, the fact do enjoy it, for crying out loud, but you don't want to just be there making up the numbers. And I think that there was a collective will in the squad.
Stick a flare up your arse by all means.
Yeah, but no, you got to wait to the final.
Produce on the pitch as well.
I think you got to earn the right to do the flare up the bum.
Yeah.
But they wanted to give a better account of themselves. And you've got to qualify again, haven't you? So we
done it before we have, mate.
They have. Elsewhere, of course, on the weekend, Northern Ireland, they ended their 5-game losing streak with a 3-0 home win against San Marino.
Did they handpick them?
Maybe. Nice for the aforementioned Paul Smith to score on his first start, of course.
Lovely volley.
San Marino manager Fabrizio Constantini said Northern Ireland deserved their win. Now, bearing in mind, San Marino have a fan club called the Never Any Joy Brigade, who pride themselves on having never seen their team win. Now, their last win came in 2004, which was before the fan club formed, of course.
Nice.
It would have been quite funny if they'd have formed that club, and then the next game, I don't know, they played Andorra in the Nations League and won. You're like,
Also, I've been, there's very little information available about the Never Any Joy Brigade, as you might expect. From what I can tell, there are 5 of them.
Yeah,
nice.
They love it, don't they?
Sounds like a Morrissey fan site, doesn't it?
but bearing in mind, as I say, there's that fan brigade, and the statistics speak for themselves. I love the fact that Constantini said Northern Ireland deserved their win. Was that a line that he often? That's just the stock line, is it?
He just doesn't know what else to say in press conferences at this point.
That's his cliche. Instead of at the end of the day, or a game with 2 halves, he starts off, obviously the opposition deserved their win. Maybe they'll win a game at some point soon, Vish, in the UEFA Nations League, where dreams can come true.
So is the idea that when they win, this group will disband?
Maybe.
So there's just 5 people just not sitting as close to each other.
Yeah, it is just a road, isn't it? I'm looking on the map. It's just a road.
Well, San Marino.
Across some mountains.
Yeah.
It's a mountainous microstate, Marcus.
There we are.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, probably.
Do you think they live in San Marino?
Who?
Well, I guess they have to,
These 5.
I hope
They're
so.
not any joy.
Otherwise,
5.
this is really strange behaviour.
It does sound like something that someone does on a gap year, then writes a book about it. I did. who cares?
Yes, it's a very football. I went to San Marino and formed a shut up, posho.
and such lovely people. The locals.
Oh dear.
The smiles on their little faces.
Right, let's go for a quick break.
They deserve to be fully deserved to be in the draw, and hopefully, I really hope they get something amazing that's life-changing, so my fucking shit players can learn a fucking lesson, because they were so poor. Sometimes I get the management team to take the blame, part blame, some blame, whatever. Today was wholeheartedly a bunch of players that were absolutely shit.
Well, like my half-time team talk.
Is that the San Marino manager?
Welcome back to the Football Ramble. It was Dorking Wanderers manager Mark White after they lost to Horsham this weekend in the FA Cup. That's proper like my neck of the woods, that.
Yeah.
And that's that's how we do things, Jim.
He sounds like he's from my neck of the woods.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, thank you very much for Alex for choosing today's clip. Of course, you can choose the break jingle for next Monday's show or the intro line for this Wednesday's show. Just sign up for the Football Ramble Patreon using the link in the show description to get involved. It did remind me of a former Leatherhead manager whose name escapes me at halftime. You're shit. You're shit. You're even shit.
Are you all familiar with Mark White?
Yes.
Can't say I am.
So he's quite
Why
big.
am I?
He's quite big on social media.
Yeah.
You would have maybe kind of scrolled through a reel and seen him.
Yeah,
and,
okay.
He's quite big on TikTok.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
That's his finest work to date, though.
Yeah, but he has loads of things like this. I'm not sure if I like him or if I find him annoying, because he's actually quite charming.
Yeah.
Right.
And he seems to be respected by the players. I don't know after this.
Yeah, but
He seems to be quite respected by the players. And obviously that's like a decent job to have.
Yeah.
And I
So
can't
do
really
you think this is a bit of an affectation for numbers?
Yeah, I can't work it out. I feel like it is because it's on the. I think it was on. This is a segment taken from the official Dorking Wanderers channel. Why are you calling players fucking shit?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But I don't know.
Oh, it got us a good jingle, didn't it? It did.
Email in if you think he's a knobhead.
It's only made good for me. I agree with Vish. It's only made good for me because it's brought to you by Nuffield Health.
Yes.
Nuffield Health really not wanting a part of this.
My goodness. England versus Italy tomorrow night, gentlemen. The big one. The biggest of all the big ones that night for us. Gareth Southgate, so far, has been putting out a particular fire. That fire is the booing of Jordan Henderson during the 1-0 win against Australia on Friday night. Southgate said he is a role model in the squad. I don't understand it. Kieran Trippier stood up for Henderson, saying, for us as players, we stick together. What did you make of the Boo Boys, Jim Campbell?
Well, firstly, I'm sort of disappointed that Gareth Southgate hasn't been a bit more honest, I think, because I think he absolutely understands it. Now, I suppose you could make the argument that he doesn't know whether Henderson is being booed for his performance, which was absolutely fine, or his ongoing inclusion based on sporting merit, or he's being booed for everything we've spoken about previously about him going out to Saudi, having previously spoken in support of LGBTQ plus communities. And Southgate knows that. Perhaps it's firefighting on his point, but I just think it would be a lot easier for him to come out and be honest and say, look, I know that his continuing inclusion is controversial for some people. We've made the decision to keep including him for sporting reasons, etc., etc. I think that would make it just easier. And unfortunately, I think in acting like he doesn't understand why he would be booed, that presents the idea that it's actually not a big deal and it's a big overreaction. And it plays into the hands of people who think that caring about those sort of issues is a load of bloody woke PC over the top sensitive nonsense, when obviously it's not, because it makes a huge difference to a lot of people's lives. Now, recently Jordan Henderson has essentially acted as a sort of ambassador for Saudi's bid for the World Cup, which is likely to be realistically probably going to happen. Yeah. And
due to lack of, I know Australia and New Zealand are sort of scrambling around to get a bid, but it looks like it will go.
Looks like it's going to happen
2034.
So, if between now and then a footballer comes out and they're an international footballer, can they play in that tournament? Will they relax the laws on something like that? We don't know. And the tournament being held there while those laws exist, as was the same in Qatar, is a huge step backwards for football. And Henderson endorsing that really undoes anything he might have done in the past. That's my view on it. I'm sure Gareth Southgate knows that. I just wish he'd be a bit more, transparent about his understanding of that.
I mean, personally, when Southgate says, I don't understand it, he also said it defied logic. I actually don't take him too literally that I don't understand it. Of course, he knows why they're booing him.
But he does follow that up with defies logic, and I'd say that.
So if I may, just briefly, I think that what Southgate is probably saying, whether one agrees with them or not, this is my interpretation of what Southgate's saying is, of course he understands it, for crying out loud. It's I think it's more of a semantics kind of issue there. When he says, I don't understand it, I think what he means is, I don't think it should happen. I don't think you should boo because I don't understand it because it's not going to help him. It's not going to help the team, which is also what he kind of said. That's how I would look at it.
Yeah, but I suppose if you look at Southgate and his previous media interactions, his media interactions since he got the job, he's totally appreciated the importance of that kind of clarity with language. He's spoken very well. Yeah. Often he would have known this is something that was going to be broached to him. He might have even been keen to bring it up independently of being asked it in a press conference.
But it makes his own position untenable on this particular matter, doesn't it? If you start talking about the actual nuts and bolts of what this is actually about and admitting that you know what it is, it comes back on you a little bit. And it defies logic that he's put himself in this position for the sake of what? A 34-year-old footballer whose powers are waning. Like what? Why are you doing this?
Yeah,
it seems insane.
Well, I think
on the pitch.
Well, he says he's doing
we're
it.
obsessed with things on the pitch these days.
Well, he said he's doing it because Henderson has been a big player for England and he mentioned Jude Bellingham under his wing, for example, and so on. So I think
he'll
Southgate
probably be in the Euro squad.
Oh, I'd have thought so, unless he's
the way it makes it sound like, and I know this is not how you intended it, but I feel like the reasons that Southgate often gives for, Henderson's inclusion, if he thinks he's good enough to be in the squad, that should be enough, really. I don't think he needs to go into, we don't need to hold Jude Bellingham hostage to Henderson's selection.
What a huge turn it would be, though. They're actually lovers.
Oh, what? So many different things at play there. But the thing that I'm a little bit, I find a bit frustrating and actually a bit tiresome with this kind of stuff, was specifically pertaining to Henderson, is that why are we constantly been made to feel like it's actually that complicated? Like the reason he was booed is this, and you can maybe go into the weeds of it and say, well, actually, a lot of people just booed him because other people booed him, because you do get into that kind of group mentality when you're in a place that big.
And they might be booing for different reasons.
Exactly. Yeah, you might just think he's not very good, and so I boo him. Yeah, whatever. We haven't had. You don't. In English sporting culture, you don't really need too much to boo someone. Yeah.
No.
But also, as Jim actually articulated well at the start, by saying that, you're also kind of skewering the really important stuff as well. I don't think it can be. I just think the Southgate should have been a bit more considered in how he spoke about it, or even just why did he need to speak about it at all?
He's a good diplomat, isn't he? We've seen that time and time again. That's been one of the real strengths of his tenure, is his diplomacy.
I totally agree with that. Do you think it is a case that he's been in the job a few years?
You live long enough to be a villain, a gaslighting villain.
Yeah, well, I do you think that maybe it is? It's just a bit of fatigue. I mean, it is demanding.
A bit of familiarity with the player as well. I think it's, it's just kind of, he's my mate.
And there's nothing, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
Yeah, there is a responsibility to keep harmony in that group as well. And Kieran Trippier's comments are also a result
even
of that.
Harvey Elliott as well, which, for a young player.
But it just shows how surface level the whole fucking Rainbow Laces bollocks was in the first place. You know what I mean? Like, for that England team. They don't care about it. They just don't get. They can make all the positive statements.
That's a harsh
accusation about it.
Well, then why are they backing this player in this particular situation? Why are they all holding together on this particular thing? We all know why he's getting booed. Well, it's a disgrace that he's wearing an English shirt. An absolute disgrace.
I think to meet them more than halfway. I think a lot of the problems for players, specifically when they're playing for this England football team, is the fact that they're so upfront with this kind of stuff that they eventually tie themselves in knots, whether it's morally or in how they speak about various different things, even pertaining to their own game.
When it actually pertains to someone in their squad, when it becomes real, they don't have the fortitude for it.
I don't even know if it's fortitude. I also just think it's naivety, because they are used as pawns in various different situations, be it politically or otherwise, and they talk about these things that they do. I do think Henderson cares about LGBTQ people. I do think he cares about those causes. I just don't think he, for some reason, is able to look at what he's doing by moving to Saudi Arabia.
Well, we saw it from the interview, didn't we?
Yeah, he's just kind of naive, I think.
Yeah,
because even so these quotes came out from Henderson over the weekend where he says, as I keep saying, it doesn't change the person who I am. I'm playing football in a different country in Saudi where I want to try and improve the game on the pitch, but also off the pitch as well. Now, he gets pressed on what he means by off the pitch.
Yep.
And he says...
changing room.
Well, no. He says, having previously suggested in Saudi Arabia that his values might help, open up the country, as it were. He actually meant when he said off the pitch, he actually meant, well, just the whole league, before adding... He only meant change in terms of improving the football.
Yeah.
Now, he's saying that because it's almost just part of his lexicon to say on and off the pitch.
Yeah.
He doesn't really know what off the pitch means. And also, he can't do that. No one can do that.
Absolutely. He also seems to think that, doing it for football reasons over monetary reasons makes any difference whatsoever. It's still, you're still there representing a pretty horrendous regime. It's like starting a band with Charles Manson and going, I just want to talk about the music. I just want to talk about the music.
Yeah.
I think that what you said, Vish, when the players, this England team represents this England team represents that. But how many England players have actually stood there and said, right, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're about. They are footballers first and foremost. That's not a cop out. But the fact of the matter is, the reason why people have enjoyed this England team is because of the results. It's because of going deep in tournaments. Yeah. That's not to pour cold water on morals and all the rest of it. That is the reality of it. That is the job they are there to do. And of course, we want people to be more engaged and with certain things and so on and so forth. But they're not the first sporting role models and icons who have said, "Oh, come on, then, what carry the conviction through of the things that you've said and whatnot." And I think that Southgate, he is in the end game now. This will almost certainly be his last tournament, and I think he's trying to get everybody focused and whatnot. And all this sort of understandable noise, and I'm loath to call it noise because the criticisms of Henderson, I think, are fair. But, you put your head above the parapet and sometimes, actually, you can't just then go, all right, and I'm now checking out of my opinions 100%, on that.
100%, yeah. Once you've made the move to be open enough to talk about all this stuff, you can't then just shy away from it. Which I suppose is Southgate's problem now because...
And you say about the main reason for the likability of the squad because they go deep in tournaments. I would say that my interest in the England team was in a huge part. It was because they seemed like absolute stand-up lads, really. The way that they sort of treated each other and talked about these issues, I thought were really, really good. But it seemed that it was all just quite surface level and didn't really exist in the dressing room. So for me. Anyway.
Okay, well, there we are. But they did beat Australia 1-0.
They did.
We know
did.
which
so we've
is
won
the important
Ashes.
thing.
So we have won the Ashes.
We got them back.
I'm disappointed you didn't bring this up.
Well,
you should all talk about cricket when I'm not here.
Well, I'm surprised you're bringing
Well,
up
not behind
cricket.
my back. But...
I mean, okay, if we're going to do that, England...
Not that one.
England
not
got
that
a good
cricket.
Win. Yeah, I personally hold you responsible for that loss against Afghanistan.
Why did I do that? I didn't bowl. I'm not Chris Woakes.
Yeah, but
love Chris Woakes.
You're the nearest thing to the England team. You've got their ear. Speak louder, man. But England, of course, play Italy on Tuesday night. Tomorrow night.
It's a huge game, isn't it?
It is a massive game.
Are we confident about it?
I am. I mean, Italy beat Malta 4-0, of course. It's not a vintage set of Italian players, we know. But now they have Luciano Spalletti in charge, and I'm a bit like, could he not have taken over after the Euros?
Yeah.
Because that man...
Right, just have no one.
I don't know. Roy
Keane.
Have
Roy Keane. Yeah.
Well, is Di Canio still knocking about? I don't know, but
there's an all or nothing.
That's
Roy
right.
Keane's Italy.
Well, Spalletti's Italy. Yeah, they beat Malta 4-0, and Ukraine beat North Macedonia 2-0. So I mean, yes, you would still expect England to qualify even if they don't win this game, or even if they lose it, for crying out loud. But still, you don't want to go down any of those kind of nonsense. I mean, a win against Italy would secure qualification for England and guarantee they get top spot. With regards to seeding, I haven't delved into this, but I would imagine finishing top would be quite important. It tends to be. But it would be lovely to see England qualify and beat Italy at Wembley, it wouldn't make up for the Euros final, but we can pretend it would. And Jim, I'm going to be there, and I want to see this all happen.
That's good. I'm delighted. Hopefully, you're going to wear your
wear your
t-shirt.
I could,
yourself on
I suppose. Yeah. I mean, it's quite incredible that it's a sellout. Well, maybe not that, but the fact that the Aussie game was a sellout as well. Again, it shows you the interest in this England team.
Yeah, and I think regardless of the recent history between England and Italy, even in this group. You want to regularly beat the top teams, even if they are top teams on reputation. We know Italy haven't had the best time recently with not qualifying for the World Cup and whatnot. But it is important in England's evolution and their sort of ongoing status that they win these games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you think just because we were just talking about England players in a very different context, but do you think a lot of the selling out of Wembley Stadium is down to obviously it's not solely on one player, but it's quite hard to watch Jude Bellingham play live as an England fan, isn't it? Unless you're watching England games.
That's true.
I think that's quite cool. I wonder if that's a part of it. Maybe I'm just over-egging the pudding here a bit.
Well, no, I mean, do you know what? It's funny you say that because of what he's been doing at Real Madrid. Despite being a father of two very young boys, I have thought to myself, I've got to get myself over there and see him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He is that type of player. You watch the Beckham documentary. You remember when they had the Galacticos? And I never did watch the Real Madrid when they were the Galacticos, but it is the type of, they've got Zidane, they've got feet, I need to see that in the flesh. Do you know what I mean? So perhaps, Vish, you might be onto something there.
We saw them and Pepe scored their only goal. Not the same. The same.
Yeah, but I like that.
Yeah,
Also saw Griezmann score as well. Come on, there's collectors.
It's not. It's like going to a gig and being like, the bass guitarist has written this one. Oh, brilliant! Please, thank you.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to this.
Not what we want.
Yeah, they didn't play Just or Creep. But talking of Jude Bellingham, in Spain, newspapers are comparing Jude Bellingham to Albert Einstein and Michael Jordan.
Are they okay?
Do you know why this happened, Vish? It's because he stuck his tongue out in a game.
Yeah.
No, while he was doing that dribble when he scored against Napoli, he had his tongue out.
Yeah.
And people say apparently that is a sign of genius, because Jordan used to do it sometimes when he would dribble.
Well, there is a bit of science to it. Apparently, it is because sticking your tongue out can help you concentrate.
Makes it hear better, doesn't it? When you
apparently
your mouth.
Your brain's occupied by your tongue because it's a massive muscle, and it's essentially to make sure it's not like choking you or you don't bite it. So if you stick it out, your brain has a bit more space.
Brain's like, cheers.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, lovely.
Let's
score a goal.
Yeah. So every England penalty taker now, if there's a shootout, you go out with your tongue out. Everyone knows what they're doing.
Who gave it a go? It's harder on the podcast.
It is hard.
It is hard.
Did you see?
It doesn't work in every profession.
This is.
Put your hands up.
This is on a bit of a tangent, and I'll try and keep this brief. But Andre Agassi,
yes, Boris Becker.
Andre Agassi, Boris Becker. There's a great anecdote about that because
Amazing.
Agassi worked out that Boris Becker's tongue would fall to one side when he was serving to a certain side of the court.
It's an incredible
and
thing.
he didn't tell him for years until they were at an after dinner thing together, having a few drinks, and he was like, "Oh, you always be able to return my serve," and he's like, "Well, if you do this thing with your tongue," and he was like. Huh?
he said, didn't he? He said he used to go home to his wife and say, "It's like this man can read my mind," kind of thing. But Agassi said he didn't do it every time because he thought he might give it away. Incredible.
So if England players are going to stick their tongue out when taking a penalty, make sure it's not pointing to the side where you're going to go.
That's right. Yeah.
So actually, that's a whole other layer of mind games and mental pressure that maybe we don't need.
Take your tongues out.
Hide your tongues.
Yeah.
No, get your tongues out for the lads.
Get your tongues out.
Wear a mask.
Right out loud.
There we are. Gentlemen, let us come back home to club football and Manchester United, because Sir Jim Ratcliffe has agreed to buy a 25% stake in Manchester United. The proposed bid from Qatar, specifically from Sheikh Yassim bin Hamad Al Thani, he withdrew, and Big Jim, or Sir Jim, as he was knighted,
Sir Big Jim,
as the Queen decided to call him.
It looks like, I don't think it's, at the time of recording, it's not been ratified.
No, there's a shareholders meeting on Thursday, isn't there,
Yeah.
where they're going to vote on it.
Yeah, but 25% stake, and he'll be put in charge of sporting operations of the club.
Yeah,
which
so-
is what you want, Jim.
Well,
that's what you're in
theory,
it for.
I'm surprised by the opposition to this situation that I've seen online, and obviously, you've got to take a lot of that stuff with a pinch of salt. I think there's perhaps a lack of trust, and essentially everyone just wants no Glazer involvement at all, because the idea that Sir Jim Ratcliffe can put his own team in place and take control of the football side. It looks really good, doesn't it? But it is essentially only going to be a formality, right? Because if things are an absolute disaster, then surely the rest of the board will still step in.
Well, and there's also, because of the way that United has been structured over the last 20 years, there's a lot of crossover with that.
Yeah.
Right.
In terms of like player acquisition is related to like marketability in certain instances. So like there is just crossover. I mean, I suppose that's the nature of modern football, full stop, especially at that level. But yeah, Jim's right. It's not going to be like, right, you sort out the football side, we all do the noodles.
Yeah, exactly.
I love the thought.
On paper, it looks great, doesn't it? Like a step in the right direction. And
Good petrol versus bad petrol, isn't it?
Yeah, well, exactly. But it seems the reaction has been really, really muted.
Yeah, well, Ratcliffe Out was already trending on X.
Not even in.
I know, yeah, yeah. Well, there you go. I do like the idea of the negotiation table. 25%. I'll get to make the transfers, don't I?
Yeah.
I get to buy the players.
Can I have
That's
a
the
game?
fun bit.
Can I have a game?
Give us a controller.
Does that?
What do you think, Vish? Would you want Sir Jim in there with his 25%?
I think the whole thing is. I'm not bemused actually. I'm kind of a little bit bored by it because I wonder how much of the Qatari bid's interesting because he hasn't spoken during any of this, but a lot of his views have been put out there.
Yes.
Interestingly,
Yes,
just thrown out there.
Yep.
By a lot of people doing his PR. Some of them happen to be journalists.
Yeah, he's a very sort of shadowy figure, you might say. Do you know what I mean?
Well, but shadow in the kind of like loosest sense, really. Like he clearly someone who briefs people and they put his message out there.
But
that's fine.
he gets that he's not putting the message out himself. You know
Well,
what
I mean, but he kind of is. It's
Okay,
like,
all right, fair.
sources close to. Yeah, he just told you it's fine.
Okay.
Like, we're all grown ups here. But I do think it's interesting from United's point of view that the type of money that they were talking about, which I think was about 2.5 billion above the asking price, maybe only about 2.
it was a lot of money.
Yeah. The idea that they spent so long over these protracted negotiations, you can't just leave that kind of money on the table. Not literally, it's ridiculous. Yeah. But you can't just leave it on the table and assume that the people making the bids are going to be satisfied with that, because it does speak to a greater malaise internally that like, maybe I don't want you to actually.
Yeah.
I don't want to take this over because look how badly you're doing business, essentially. Because obviously there's a level of pride there as well. The Ratcliffe thing, in terms of the 25%, I was talking to a mate about this yesterday who's also a Manchester United fan. I presume the reason he's doing it for the 25% initially is that once he goes in, it's easier to get whatever.
Yeah, we see that.
The remaining stock to have a majority share.
Yeah.
Easier to get it internally and cheaper to get it internally.
Yeah.
Right.
And therefore buy various members of the board.
rather than the open market.
Yeah.
He's putting it on layaway.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like again. Oh, by the way, I can hold that 10% for you. But
Yeah,
if you want to knock off, things aren't going that
It's
well.
easier to get a
Right.
promotion rather than get a job.
Yeah, sure. I wondered if it's anything to do with that, but that kind of, I don't really have the wherewithal to totally understand how that's been done beyond the fact that it's happened before in other clubs. And so, like, I don't really know. Essentially, if my situation plays out, what's going to happen further down the line is this kind of internal boardroom style civil war, which is never particularly edifying anyway, but is probably the only thing that Manchester United hasn't had as a fuck up in the last 10, 15 years. So maybe we're due. Maybe
Succession, basically.
Yeah,
Looking for a
essentially.
succession.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Well, we shall see, as we always
will.
have to with Manchester United. This is better news, though, speaking of people who are sort of linked to the club, if you will. Erik Cantona announced his debut EP, I'll Make My Own Heaven, will be released next week ahead of a sold-out live tour. Have you heard any of it, chaps?
I've listened to a little bit of
What did you?
one of
How
them.
would you describe it?
Sounds like music.
Yeah,
He basically taught himself guitar in lockdown, didn't he? And he himself says, I'm not the most skilled musician, but I
I took
can knock
it anyway.
a tune together, and I'm enjoying it. He's putting a band together, going on tour,
How would
just
you
living the best life possibly. Erik Cantona.
Would you call him a talky singer?
Yeah, he is absolutely a talky singer. Yeah.
Why do people of men of a certain vintage suddenly decide to do this? Damian Lewis is a good one.
Is he
Yeah,
really?
he's gone absolutely mad.
Is that any good? No, he's not any
Are you
good.
going to say you went to your church? Because
No.
it feels like a church story.
Who was the other one?
Lawrence Fox.
Lawrence Fox did it. The
Stars in
building
House,
man. Yes,
in Blackadder.
the
Oh,
building
Nick
man.
Knowles, yeah. I
Nick
think he was
Knowles,
having a rough
Nick
time when he
Knowles,
did
yeah,
that,
yeah.
didn't he?
No. Stars in House.
Hugh
Right.
Laurie.
Hugh Laurie.
Hugh Laurie. Yeah, but okay.
I think
fair.
he's been doing that for a long time.
Has he?
Though.
Yeah. Jeremy Renner.
Jeremy Renner.
Jeremy
yeah,
Renner.
before his
Okay.
situations.
Yes, YouTubers do.
I'm unaware
music.
of that, but it sounds like I should remain unaware.
I think he got run over by his own snowplow or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
really
okay.
bad.
Oh, I thought there was scandal.
Harvey from E17-esque.
Not as bad as that.
Not as bad as
you're
it was
not-
worse than that.
Did he have too many bananas as well?
No, it was
Potatoes.
jacket potatoes.
Oh, right.
Like, too many jacket
Yeah.
potatoes. Leaned
Alright.
out of his car door to be sick. Fell over and ran over his own head.
There you go.
That's a difficult sick, isn't
It
it?
is really.
Very starchy sick.
Couldn't do it again, could you?
You shouldn't laugh at it, chaps.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Why? Why not?
Oh, I'm just looking at my face. And go on then, Pete.
Yeah, go on,
Fill
yeah.
your boots.
Oh, I'm Marcus Speller. I think we should laugh at all of this, actually.
I just want to
It
clarify.
was right on the belly button, Matt.
Right, belly button, yeah.
I just want
Did you plan it so that his mouth would be on your belly button? 'Cause it really looks like it.
Pop it through, yeah.
to clarify that wasn't
Look
me
at the size of
talking.
your forehead there because of the crease.
It's not that bad, is it?
Right, so
Mark,
Don't start slagging it off.
you should
Pete's
bring
done
your
a-
eyes.
like
That's
everything
actually
else.
quite a good look. You
Pete's
should bring
done-
your eyes closer to your head.
Peter has done a really nice thing there.
I've done a really
Okay.
nice thing there in
Yeah.
tribute to my favourite host
Thank you, Peter.
next to myself.
There we go. Is it a reversible one? You're on the inside. What was I going to want to talk about? Wrexham.
Wrexham.
Have you seen this?
Are they coming out with an album?
No, they've come out with a map though of the
They
UK.
should do they should do like a Band-Aid style thing. Why not?
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, and why not, Jim? Did you see that? Yeah, the Wrexham documentary went
He's got his
viral
T-shirt and he's all disdainful of me now.
last week.
Do you think you're better than us?
Well, Pete's kind
Clearly.
of proved that I am, I think. They've got an incorrect map of UK football clubs. So they've put the football club badges on the map, and some of them
It's
are
all
quite...
over the place. isn't it?
Everton's in Wales, apparently.
Yeah.
The best one
Yeah.
is Brentford, is pretty much on Adrian's wall.
I've not seen it, so is it deliberately wrong? Is it one of those
I want
like
to say...
a meme thing?
Yeah, but why? That's just...
No.
What kind of banter is that,
I mean,
Jim?
Leicester's all over the place.
Yeah.
And that's the middle of it. So, and it just gets worse from there, really, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
but Pete, there's a few where you kind of go...
Birmingham's almost in Wales.
Yeah, well, but that's not a shocker, though. Do you know what I mean? Like, Birmingham is...
QPR's also almost in Wales. That's a shocker.
Yeah, but Brentford's the worst one. When you look at it, you just think someone's just gone, Brentford, oh, yeah, fine, just wherever
I just
there's a
think
space.
map makers in America, when they're doing graphics, they've just got a lot more room to play with.
Yeah.
We're so small and the logos are so big. It's it's going to happen.
I
You
think
can put
also...
Everton in the right country, though.
You could put
I think basically they thought, it's a tiny little country. Everywhere's like just 10 minutes up the road, so we'll just spread them out there. They
Yeah.
can't get annoyed at this, surely.
Everton's not just in Wales; it's almost in Ireland. It's so far out, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's on Anglesey. That's where it is. They got a good win, though, against Salford City. Did you see that?
They did, yeah.
2 goals in the last couple of minutes.
It's a very celeb game, that, isn't it?
Very celeb game, of course. Did you see, though, elsewhere in League Two, Gillingham interim manager Keith Millen was sent off for tripping Walsall winger Tom Knowles as he attempted to take a throw. And this was glorious stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it is as I've described. But
It was a good spot because it goes really quickly. I think.
I think he goes for the ball. Why am I talking to him like he's a midfielder?
His foot went over the ball.
I think he was going for the
shouldn't have
ball.
done what
Yeah.
he did.
Yeah, but he did it.
And it prompted the Gillingham chairman, Brad Gallison, on Twitter, because bearing in mind Keith Millen is an interim manager, he just simply tweeted to the fans, "We will get you a manager."
Oh, wow.
Oh no!
Oh, dear.
Oh dear!
There we are.
Never mind.
Oh dear. But Peter,
Hello.
where can people find those T-shirts? Me.
Well, I found it.
We need
on
to get them out there.
Some company on Instagram. They just make these silly rap T-shirts. So I did it all on my mobile phone.
Oh, I thought that they were on the rack
On the
somewhere.
off the peg, Marcus Vella. Oh, with AI,
Maybe
surely you
M&S
could just
would be
type them up.
fitting.
Yeah.
Well, if you can find them, then get your hands on a Marcus Speller T-shirt. What does it say? The host
With the most.
with the most.
The host with the most, Marcus Speller.
There we are.
We haven't seen what it says on the back yet, have we?
No.
No, we haven't, and we
It's
can't.
dark side.
There's copyright reasons that we can't send the podcast. But there we are, everybody. Thank you very much for listening to the Football Ramble, part of the Acast Creator Network. Follow us on X, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Football Ramble. And don't forget to subscribe on your podcast app. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pete.
X, you're starting to sound like one of them.
Aye.
Hey.
I remember. Thank you, Vish.
Thank you.
Lots of love, everybody. See you soon.
Thanks for watching a clip from the Football Ramble podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a video. And if you're feeling extra generous, why don't you like this video? Why don't you like this video?